Yeah, thank you for the presentation. It was very thorough. What is our fund balance before and after this budget if we proceed? I know we have a surplus going in, and I know I saw number 54%. And I know we've drawn out the fund balance previously. Would we be looking at a fund balance increase from the start of this year to next year?
There's a projected surplus of 400,000, and so the number that it would change if everything came in as planned would be 400,000 to the better.
So we would project an increase in the fund balance.
Yes.
Okay. And then the other question I have is, why are we projecting only 2 of the 4 payments from the state?
With the information that we have from the state at this time, we have heard that we should expect 2 or 3 of the payments in an effort to maintain a conservative estimate of those payments. We have included those in the budget. They have told us that they plan to voucher all 4, but we had all 4 vouchered this year and did not receive those. And with the current state and with the budget for remaining areas unapproved at this time, that is our best estimate as to what we will receive.
So we didn't receive 4 vouchers last year? I thought we received 1, but it came in during this fiscal budget.
All 4 were vouchered, but the actual payment was not received until, so they will voucher the payment, but sometimes do not actually make the payment or release the funds to the district until well into the future, you know, probably on average about a month later than the time that it's vouchered. So for this particular, or for last fiscal year, that the 4 payments were vouchered in the appropriate fiscal year, but were not actually received during that time, and that's what we've been told to expect kind of the coming year for the current year.
Any additional questions? Thank you very much. I know a lot of people ask questions on the side to your answers to point, but I know a lot of work goes into this, so I do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Fund to another, and the timing and things of that nature could have an impact on decisions and going forward. I guess at this point, you know, in the conversation tonight, I'm a visual learner, and I kind of need to see numbers in front of me to help me see where we're going.
And you may recall the schedule we just saw a few minutes ago, that if you consider a multi-year analysis, no changes at all, a couple of years out, the numbers are red and in parentheses, and they're not 6 digits anymore, they're 7.
And we base those projections on actually an increase in the CPI from 0.8 this year to 1.0 next year to 1.3 for the years out. So we try to balance the best we can, but it is anyone's guess, you know, what could happen with those CPI rates. So when we increase the CPI and we're still coming in on a deficit budget, that's where we look ahead and we say, this board is going to have questions. Yeah.
And I think as we go down the road, then there's other issues that have to be considered. That's when we have to start looking at salaries and the bonuses and stipends and things of that nature, which, you know, we're tied right now because of the contracts we have. But somewhere down the road, those are things that are going to have to be looked at.
Right, and also to this point, we also have in our budget, we've got the planned expense for the purchase of Higgins, which we haven't even discussed yet. So we're setting aside money for a decision we haven't come to yet. So if we don't spend that money, that too would then go back into our reserve and we would draw from that at a later date, or if we decided not to purchase the facility, what would be our option?
To pay rent and property tax.
Right, but with the money that we have in the budget this year, if we move forward, we take the levy, we levy against this budget, the money that's in there for Higgins, if we don't purchase it, what would happen to those funds?
I guess a person could theoretically say if there's no planned expenditure, they would not be spent.
And then the money that we have that we didn't spend would go back to our fund balance, correct?
Or does it just reduce the budget line? Does that make sense?
Yeah, yes, if there's no plan for it, we have a plan in there to use it as part of the budget, the existing budget, where our numbers, our money in matches our money out, to sustain the quality of the district, to deliver the quality services. Any line in there could be pulled out and the money not spent, theoretically, but the purpose is for us to deliver quality services, which we're entrusted to do. And what we've brought to you is a plan where they do match as closely as they have ever matched in my recent memory.
Does that answer your question?
No, I think it does.
Are there any other additional questions? Comments? Okay. Oh, sorry. No, I'm sorry.
The instructional fees were flat in the presentation. And I'm curious about that. Is that instructional fees in terms of what are, like tuition parents would pay and so on? Is that comparable to what other districts are doing?
We have held our student registration fees flat since 2007, I believe it is.
Okay.
We are mindful of that. We have, it's been a deliberate decision of this board to keep that cost low to our residents and those with multiple children. So we have not raised the fees in many years. We are lower than any district locally here, comparable district.
Anyone else? Okay, there's a suggested motion that the Board of Education approve the 2015-2016 tentative budget as presented and direct the superintendent to place it on file for public inspection for a minimum of 30 days. Further, the notice of public hearing be held at the Board of Education meeting on September 17, 2015. Be published. Oh, we already did the motion, okay. May I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Rucker? Aye. Mr. LaFever?
Aye.
Mr. Dombrowski?
Nay.
Mrs. Klinkouli?
Aye.
Mr. Hinshaw?
Aye.
Mr. Sherringhausen?
Aye.
Mrs. Berg?
Aye. Moving on to the purchase of the Higgins Education Center. We've been provided some information on that. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Next item of business is board member expenses. There's a suggested motion that the Board of Education approve the pre-approval form for future expenses reimbursement for annual.
We posted them on our website, and I was just wondering how the rest of the board would feel about doing something along those lines, opening up our communication. I know that our administration is very favorable towards providing as much communication as we possibly can. I think that offers more detail and the opportunity for our community members to review and become more involved.
I'm in favor of it. I mean, we talked about this a couple of years ago in regards to whether it's videotaping or whatever the new terminology is. But I'm wondering if maybe this is something that we can, should be part of our strategic plan. And when we talk to community, kind of what are they looking for? How are they utilizing the technology? What do they want to see? I mean, I've got some thoughts of what I think should be part of it, but I think it would be good to find out from those people who hopefully would potentially be utilizing it and watching it. We had great presentations. We had a really good presentation tonight. So no, I'm in favor of that, but I'm thinking maybe we need to wait and let's see how the strategic plan goes, and then that's something that this board could be discussing.
I know that the residents in Palatine utilize D15's recordings and things like that. From when I'm talking to people in Palatine, they're asking, hey, when's D11 going to be doing, 211 going to be doing what D15 does? That's the community feedback I've been getting. I don't know if we need to wait for a strategic evaluation.
I don't know if that's such a, I mean, if anything, it would help us build a strategy, a stronger strategy, if we get some good feedback.
Well, I think I'm in kind of both areas. I do think the idea is good. I do think there is some feedback out in the community. As it's been brought to this table before, the issues come into play is what does it look like? What does videotaping look like to the community? And the 7 of us can tell the people we speak to, but if we next month move forward onto this community engagement strategic plan, why don't we find out exactly what the community is looking for instead of I heard, you heard, they heard, and all those are valid, but this is a valid document and valid community input directly that the board could use that information to make an educated decision.
And then we can define that in our strategic plan, and, you know, that could be part of our communication and how we're gonna be moving forward. So, yeah, I'm all in favor of that.
Yeah, just by it dovetails with the strategic plan, and getting that out, whether it's just recording the meetings or videoing, just camera there, they can see, you know, just post it through, whatever, however that looks like.
Okay, so motion to direct administration to include that in the strategic.
Well, I think that'd be
review.
part of the plan.
Well,
I'm not sure if it
I'm
was.
sorry, I didn't interrupt you.
well, I was gonna say, we don't necessarily need a motion, we just can decide on what type of direction as a consensus on the board right now, because we're not taking action, we're giving a directive. So if there's no objection that moving forward within the community engagement strategic plan, if we move forward with that piece in September, so there's a lot of ifs, that it will be an important component of finding out what the community is looking for in regards to videotaping our meetings and what they would expect that to look like. And I'm just going to say this, and if it even is something that everybody truly wants. Is that okay?
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
Just in case, is the secretary still waiting for a vote on a motion for the discussion? Just, that's okay, just let it go, but just so she knows.
Are you okay over there, Mrs. Sinowski? I think there was some concern that I might have skipped over something, so if I did, I apologize if I confused you.
Thank you.
No.
You got a yes on the vote from, open the discussion on that?
Was that a motion with a, do we have somebody who made, we had a motion, we had a second?
Yeah, I made the motion and then Dwayne O'Reilly. Yeah.
I second.
You seconded it, thank you.
Did we vote?
No, we did not vote to talk about it, but we already talked about it, so.
It's okay, just so.
So that it's
everyone
clarified that
everyone agrees, she'll just put down yes.
in the future, just give me a.
We're good,
All right.
we're good.
All right, thank you.